Oh, my word. How about that for an introduction? Yes, welcome again. What is it now? Is it week 5 of Cocktails and Conversations, your favorite transatlantic jazz hour, and sometimes a bit more than an hour, with me, Nick Luck, coming to you from Southwest London, Britney Eurton checking in Los Angeles, California, and you've changed the backdrop.
I did, because I needed a table in front of me because I'm really excited about one of the cocktails in particular. But actually, Nick, this is week 6. They're flying by. It is.
Yeah. See, I did this on purpose to try and make myself believe the lockdown hadn't gone on quite as long as it has. Yeah. Mark Tubridy, you are looking resplendent. That shirt, sir, wins the sartorial prize of the season so far.
It does.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You know, I've bragged about my wife and all her many talents, but really she, has this amazing eye for wardrobe. And if I picked this by myself, it'd be a very different story. So again, kudos to her. And great to see you guys. Week 6 already. It's unbelievable.
After that music, it feels like we should all be dressed up in flapper attire. And I mean, Nick, you're dressed appropriately with the suit on. But that was a great intro. I hadn't seen it yet. Well done.
It's the only time
I
get to dress up all week.
Well, you look very handsome, my friend.
Well, that's very kind. I'm going to start blushing now and just sort of add to my natural tan. We're also going to be making, Mark, this week, in addition to the Aperol, Spritz, the whiskey sour. I've got some ingredients. Look at this, courtesy of Breeders' Cup this week and Maker's Mark, crafted specially for Nick Luck. I can't open this ever, can I?
Wait, can you put that closer to the screen so we can see what's labeled there? Oh, that's special.
Isn't that lovely?
Same thing here. So I've made the same decision not to open this. This is too special. So
look at that. Mine's not being open, but here's an inferior model that I prepared a little bit earlier. So that's what we're going to be putting in the whiskey sour a bit later. I've got the syrup cooling, Mark. We're used to drinking raw eggs on this show, so I've got the egg white here as well.
It's not your first rodeo with that one.
We're all in good shape. Hey, Britney, have we got any guests this week?
Oh, I think we've got a couple massive guests. I'm really looking forward to this afternoon. Hall of Fame trainer, 15-time Breeders' Cup winner, Bob Baffert, and then to join to make it, if we could even top Bob Baffert, yes, we will, with actress, philanthropist, model, and Breeders' Cup ambassador, Bo Derek. So it's going to be a tough show to top. I'm so thrilled to hear their stories because Bob knows Bo. Hashtag Bo knows Bob.
Good. So good. And I've been reminded by our producer again that it is week 6 of Cocktails and Conversations. And hopefully we will be with you for many more weeks yet. It is, of course, a charitable endeavor as well. Not only do we aim to put a smile on your face, but you and us are trying to raise money for the COVID-19 emergency fund right across the United States. However that should manifest itself, it manifests itself in our bid to try and help backstretch workers across the racetracks across the United States of America, bartenders and restaurant workers as well. Mark, you can tell us a little bit more about how that's going.
Yeah, it's been an incredible effort on the part of this relief fund, the Bartenders Emergency Assistance Program. And again, there have been so many generous spirits companies and distributors that are contributing to this fund. People just really showing a lot of love, for bartenders like myself that are kind of keeping ourselves busy in the meantime, but looking forward to a time that we can be behind the bar. So we're really appreciative to those amazing relief efforts and everyone that's assisting. It's incredible.
Yeah, and some of our guests have been incredibly generous, Britney, as well.
No, they absolutely have. Big thank you to all that have donated, both our guests and those of you at home. There is a bit of a glimmer of hope, at least out here in Southern California, as we see restrictions slowly being pulled back. So, but just in the meantime, please still donate. No amount of money is too small because it's going to be a tough time, even with those restrictions being pulled back slightly. It's still a long road ahead. So we appreciate all of those donations. And I'm looking forward to this afternoon or night for you.
Yeah, it's past 11 o'clock here. I know it's just after 3 o'clock your time. Mark's about the right time for cocktail hour between 6 and 7 Eastern. Britney, just update us on the situation out west with you and when you might be racing again.
Well, Santa Anita, they're still awaiting approval, but the condition book is out and their tentative start date would be May 15th. So that's a big positive for us. June 6th is the tentatively rescheduled Santa Anita Derby, Santa Anita Oaks, and the Gold Cup. So that's going to be a monstrous day. There are very strict protocols being put in place. They've actually rehearsed some of those protocols in the sense of bringing horses from the backside to the receiving barn and then to the paddock where the jockeys would get aboard, because of course jockeys haven't been allowed on the track premises for quite some time. So it's been a long time in the making. I know that Bob Baffert and his wife Jill Baffert, some saw on social media, were out protesting. I don't want to call it protesting because it's a peaceful, positive protest, just to try and get Santa Anita back open, because we do know that the live racing is the economic engine behind everything in the morning. So we're hopeful that we will be able to get back up and racing next week.
That's great news. I say campaigning, I guess, rather than protesting.
Exactly. What about in England?
We've had the news from here is that there was a briefing at the weekend which suggested that racing would start around May 15th, but it's not official yet. And although there is a race program in place, those races have not been allocated to specific racetracks as yet, because the racetrack applications haven't been fully processed as to which racetracks are safe and so forth. So we don't know which racetracks are going to take place at. And we also have to wait on the government's next announcement, which will take place on Sunday. It was supposed to take place today, 3 weeks since the last lockdown, but we have to wait until Sunday when the Prime Minister will address the nation. And then if there is some easing of the lockdown, it is possible, perhaps, that horse racing may be one of the behind closed doors pursuits that can start to think about taking place. And if they are given some sort of mandate to take place, they are ready to get on and go for it. So it's not impossible. We could be racing as early as the 15th, 16th, but certainly by the end of May, by the looks of things, which is
that's great
news. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a glimmer of hope that everybody needed, even if it's a date. And we understand that everything surrounds around the fact that we need to keep flattening that curve, lowering that curve. That is the priority here, everyone's health and well-being. But to have a date even to look at gives a bit of hope, which I know everybody needs right now, especially in regards to racing. Yeah,
absolutely. It is Mother's Day, of course. The weekend in the States. We had Mother's Day back in March. We have different dates for Mother's Day in the two countries. But there is a portion of tonight's donations going to the Mother's Day effort and the baskets to the mums on the backstretch at Santa Anita this weekend, which is a lovely touch. And another thing that may interest you is that you've got a chance to design one of the official T-shirts for Breeders' Cup 2020. The design competition starts now. Young, old, whoever you are, we want you to get involved. And the proceeds will go to the COVID-19 relief fund. So you can get on breederscup.com, have a look at that, and design the T-shirt, breederscup.com/contest.
Let's get a logo going with cocktails and conversations. We'll throw our own drawings into the hat there.
That's a good idea. I like that.
That's not so bad, but maybe you could do something with all of us on it. Might work.
You don't want me to draw your picture.
Now, are we ready to introduce our first guest for the evening?
I think we are. Why keep the people waiting?
Because we have only got one of the most recognizable faces in United States sport and an all-time screen legend. But who are we going to introduce first, Britney?
Oh, goodness. I'm going to leave it up to you.
It's like there's a talk show in Ireland where the host never knows who's coming on. He is just surprised by who appears in the room, and then he has to kind of make chat with them. So he may know who they are, he may not know who they are. It's a great watch.
Keep you on your toes.
Maybe that's what should happen right now, because both incredible advocates for the sport. They have done so much for this industry. I'm looking forward to either one of them, Hall of Fame trainer Bob Baffert or Bo Derek. I would love to hear Bo's stories about how she first got into horse racing and her first introduction to the Breeders' Cup, because I heard that Merv Griffin had something to do with that. So I imagine that's a great story.
Perhaps we will find out later. Meanwhile, Barton3215 says, Nick, get Britney a job in the UK. I've got you about as many jobs as I could possibly get you in the UK. The key is to get the transatlantic travel going again.
Oh, you were working in the States long before I was working in the UK.
Courtney says hello from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm looking forward to Breeders' Cup 20 at Keeneland. There he is.
There he
is. 15-time Breeders' Cup winning trainer, Mr. Bob Baffert, fresh from a wonderful weekend at Oaklawn Park in Arkansas. Bob, how are you?
Oh, fine, thank you. It's good to be on, and I'm ready.
Bob, thanks so much for joining us.
You're in your what looks like your own bar there, Bob. Just talk me through what you got behind you.
Well, we got the Maker's Mark Justify. We got the American Pharoah back there, and we've got the Wayne Lucas special edition.
Beautiful.
And this is a little thing that Jill built here when we built this house. It's like a little bar here that never gets used because I don't drink. So, but it looks great.
It looks gorgeous.
And Jill's an incredible interior designer. I don't know if too many people know that about her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she really works at it, but no, she has wonderful taste.
Hey, Bob, we've got a challenge for everybody watching the show tonight, because you're a very patient man with us. We ask you a lot of the same questions over and again. And don't worry, we'll ask you some of the old favorites this evening. But if anybody's got questions for Bob, keep it clean, that you've never heard asked before, and you've always wanted to know the answer to, this is your time. This is where we let our hair down a bit, relax through the next hour. You saw it with Mike Smith. You saw it with Chad Brown. Now you can see it from the great man himself, Mr. Bob Baffert. Bob, how have you been finding the last few weeks? Yes, the horses have been running brilliantly, and you've got some exciting ones. But how's the vibe been with you, and just coping with the quarantine situation?
Yeah, it's been it's been a little bit hectic at times because the only people that can go to the barn area are the people that work there, that live there, and a few of us. And we go through a lot of protocols, take the temperature, wear the gloves and mask. It's owners can't come see their horses. That's sort of the toughest part. No fans, no clockers. Jill can't even go. It's killing her. I mean, she watched the races this weekend, and she says, I've got to go see my babies out there. So, it's a little bit tough when you're used to going to see the horses every day. I'm lucky I get to see them and be around them because, it's like the greatest therapy you can have during these times is being around a horse. So, but for people that can't be around them, it's been tougher for them.
Bob, have you felt, because we were just discussing, the tentative reopening date for Santa Anita, has the vibe changed a little bit on the backside with the condition book out and with the tentative date being announced?
I think we're still just holding our breath. We're all in sort of denial that it might or it might not, something could go wrong. So, it was great that Oaklawn, they had a tremendous meet. It was fantastic. And so it was great. And so, and nobody got ill in Gulfstream Park and everything else. So it's one of those things where I don't know if the LA County pays attention to stuff like that because they have so much on their plate that thoroughbred racing, they think of thoroughbred racing, just a bunch of rich guys with their horses, sport of kings. But I think they didn't really know that there's so much more involved. There's like 20,000 people involved in the industry, a lot of jobs out there. And just like when we were out there the other day, we were, Britney, it's demonstrating, not protesting. So,
right. Protesting, what's the right word for it? Campaigning?
Protesting when you're yelling and throwing crap, that's protesting. But no, we were back there for the backstretch workers to let them know, what, sometimes you have to shake the tree a little bit to get your message out there. But I think it just shows a lot of unity. We're all getting together, and we want it to happen. And these horses, they've been literally just tearing down the barn to get out there and go. And if it wasn't for Oaklawn, Nick, I would have gone crazy. I had at least that we had horses running there. I had Jimmy Barnes there for a month, and I was shipping him horses back and forth and hoping we shipped the right ones. It was hard to get in, and I would have liked to run more horses, but you just couldn't get in at the end. It was crazy.
You had a sensational Oaklawn Park. Though, reflect on that day a little bit, though. We had the two divisions. Obviously, it was unknown for a while whether or not Charlatan was going to get in. They did split the races, and then you win them both. Just, I know you were watching from your home. So what was that entire day like for you? Because obviously very different realm we're in right now.
To tell you the truth, I was probably more nervous about Gamine, my good filly that I ran, and because I was stretching her out, and it was going to be, she went from breaking her maiden short 5.5. Now I'm stretching her out. I wanted to run her 3/4 there, but the race didn't. She couldn't get in. There was too many entries. Matter of fact, I'm lucky they put that extra on, and she got in. And so I think she was the one that if she ran well, I felt really good about the others, because Jimmy, he was saying, man, these horses look great. They're going over the track, fantastic. They both look good. And so once she got the job done, I thought that would be the toughest race. And I felt really confident about my 2-3-year-olds. I knew they had to win. You know, the way they had trained and everything on paper, they looked like winners. And so, but they were tough races. But they needed a break. You know, they need racing luck. And when Charlton was in the 1 hole, you know, Martin Garcia, I talked to him earlier in the day. I said, Martin, just get him away from there. Just get him out of there and just let him roll away from there. And just, you know what to do with these great speed horses. Just don't look back, you know. And so, and when you turn for home, if you're still in front, don't get cute. Just keep them going, because I don't want, you know, in case something comes and we don't want to get beat the last part of it. So all these things are going through your head, but that Gamine, I think she set the tone.
Bob, what would you have done if you hadn't had the 2 divisions to run the 2 horses in? If the option hadn't existed?
I really didn't. You know what? I wasn't going to run those 2 together. I just didn't want to do it. I think Nadal probably would have gone. I didn't tell the owners that, but I'm just telling you guys now. But so I'm just glad I'm just glad it worked out. But I really didn't want to run those 2 together, because it would have been a really, you know, if I would have run them together now, if the Derby was on the usual date, actually Nadal was going to go up there, and Charlton was going to go to either New York or to Keeneland. That was the plan, to split them up. So, you know, Pat Pope and the Arkansas, the Sella family, they just, like I said, I'm indebted to those guys. They really, they carried racing for a whole extra month there.
Yeah. Bob, we always talk about the depth of your 3-year-old band. Does it feel deeper than ever this year with those 2 authentic? Cezanne hasn't even raced. Does it feel like this is one of your stronger years, a powerhouse year? Because it seems like all of them are freaky.
Well, I mean, I know we have a strong hand, but you know, I've had Indian Charlie, real quiet, Point Given, Congaree. I mean, I've had some really great hands, you know, and so it's one of those things where you don't think about it, because you know you have to keep them healthy. Things can change. They can, you know, one day you're riding the wave, the next day next minute you fell off your surfboard, you know. So, you know, we just don't get ahead of ourselves, and we just stay focused and hope, you know, to keep them healthy and sound, and hope we get a few more that maybe pop up and do something.
We've had quite a few questions already asking about Authentic, who, you know, we were talking all about Charlotte and Nadal at the weekend, empty pockets. What about Authentic? Where do you stack them all up? Well, they're really, all 3 of them, they're all different, Nick. Authentic's a tall, sort of narrow, lanky type of horse. Not your typical In Mischief. You know, he's like Gamine, just real tall, elegant, long-bodied horse, and he just jumps a long ways and just floats over the sand. Just makes everything look easy. Very green, very mature. His last race was pretty good. He straightened out. He didn't do all that weaving, you know, like all over the place. And we put the earplugs into him to straighten him out. But I don't think he needs earplugs now. You know, there's nobody out there. But it's one of those things where I'm feeling good about him. All 3 of them, they're hard to separate. If you told me to get one, look, Bob, take one for the Derby in September. I can't make that call yet. It's tough.
And I'm not saying that to be political. I'm telling you, it's really tough.
Well, all three seem, I mean, they're incredibly fun to watch. I was a huge fan of Charlatan, but I think Nadal may have taken me over to his side. One, because I'm a Rafael Nadal fan, but what he did last weekend was so impressive. I know we've got a drink on tap. Mark, well, what are you making for us first?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to do a great Aperol Spritz today. So I think you guys remember me saying in one of the prior episodes that when my mom and dad went on their first date together, my mom asked my dad to order her something that didn't taste too strong. And he ended up getting her a Manhattan, which was probably not what she was expecting. So since then, my dad has learned that my mom really likes drinks with a softer palate to them. And one that he's been making for her recently that she absolutely loves is the Aperol Spritz. And of course, this drink has absolutely exploded worldwide over the past few years, especially during the summer months. You know, nothing beats it. So the classic Aperol Spritz is very simple. It's a combination of Aperol, club soda, and Prosecco. You can actually find the recipe right there on the bottle. They make it nice and easy for you. But today we're going to kind of up the ante a little bit, give it a little boost. So we're going to add some Tito's Handmade vodka, some fresh lemon juice, and honey syrup, which I think you did prepare as well, Brittany. So you're ready to go on that?
Got my honey
Beautiful.
syrup. Let me
Awesome.
grab some Prosecco and ice.
Awesome. And I'll start building the drink. I don't want to take too much time away from Bob. It's amazing listening to you speak, and I know the viewers want to hear much more. So to make this cocktail, guys, typically we would just build it directly into the glass. But because we've got some elements like citrus juice that we're incorporating in this version, we do want to shake part of it and then finish it in the glass. So in our mixing tin, we're going to start off with 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lemon juice. All right, Brittany, do you have your lemon juice there?
I've got my lemon. All
right, beautiful. So you can just slice that in half, then give it a good squeeze. So about 3/4 of an ounce.
Sorry. Bob, is Jill an Aperol Spritz kind of gal?
I don't know if she is. I don't know where she is.
She's making this with me.
I don't know where she went. She disappeared on me. She set me up. She's been my technician for the last 2 weeks, figuring out Zoom and all that. So she sets the picture up, make sure everything looks great. And so she's really come through.
Videos. Please tell her thank you. I mean, thank you to you for how wonderful you've been with the media, but a big thank you to her too, because she's been getting us all those videos. All right, I've got my lemon. Keep on going, Mark.
Beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to add the same amount of honey syrup. So we did 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice. We're going to match that with 3/4 of an ounce of the honey syrup. So the main thing, when you use honey in cocktails, you really do want to dilute it a little bit because the consistency of honey is so thick that if you put that directly in your cocktail shaker, the inside of the tin and even the ice cubes, it's not going to integrate properly with the rest of the ingredients. So what I do is about 2 parts honey to 1 part hot water. Just stir that until it becomes uniform consistency. All right, so that's a great tip there. Now we're going to add.
Really easy. I did
easy.
It was very easy.
Yeah. Most of these things, you know, we were talking about this in the past, is, you know, a lot of these concepts with bartending and mixology seem a little intimidating, but once you do it, you know, even 1 or 2 times, you see it's a lot simpler than it seems. You know, making a simple syrup is just sugar and water. The honey syrup is just diluting regular honey. So go ahead and give it a try. Oftentimes, you will find out that it's easier than what you think. So I see Joy's asking, what is the flavor of Aperol? That's a great question. Great timing, too. So Aperol, I think what is that, Brittany?
It's a little bit of an acquired taste.
It is, not as much as its kind of close cousin, Campari. So Campari is known as kind of the more, I don't want to say aggressive, but it's a stronger flavor. So
yeah, Campari is a bit more, it's more bitter, Campari, isn't it?
It is. It's more bitter. It's also stronger. So Aperol is a great kind of entry point into the world of aperitifs. So if you're not keen on Campari, try Aperol. It's got some gentian in there. So that's where that bitterness comes from. Beautiful flavors of rhubarb. I'm sure there's tons of great orange flavor. So it really is a fantastic aperitif, meaning something to have before like a big meal. All right, so we are going to add 1.5 ounces of that Aperol. There we go.
So I had to get creative here, guys. Whole Foods does not sell Aperol, which did not know that. So this is a gentian amaro. Mark, help me out. What is that?
Yeah, so, you know, both these aperitifs and things like amaro, which is more considered a digestif, you know, they both have these bittersweet elements. The main thing that kind of divides them is, yep, exactly. So it's a little bit darker, probably more herbal in character. What really divides them is whether or not you would want to have it before a meal or after a meal. So what you've got there is probably something that would be good after a heavy meal, something to kind of, get the digestion started. Whereas Aperol, Campari, aperitifs like that, you want to stimulate the digestive juices. So it's great before a big meal. But you're in the right realm. So they didn't completely steer you off course. All right. So now we're going to add an ounce of Tito's vodka. So we are going to kind of up the ante a little bit. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit stronger.
How are you getting on there, Brittany?
Honestly, not great, but I'm rolling with it. I have some lemon seeds in the bottom of my glass.
It's okay. That's another little tip is you can always strain your lemon.
My day job.
Yeah, you can always strain your lemon juice as you squeeze it, and that'll get rid of some of those little particles, the seeds and the pulp and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and start shaking this cocktail. You'll notice that we're not adding our carbonated ingredients, right? So we never want to shake things like club soda or champagne or Prosecco. That pressure will build up inside of the tin, and you're going to have a big mess that you don't want on your hands. So always save those things for last. If you have a recipe with carbonated ingredients, you're going to put that directly into the cup afterwards. All right, so add some ice to your cocktail shaker, Brittany, and we're going to give this a nice shake.
Got it.
All right.
Nick, I love that comment that we just got. I'm not sure who it was from, but said that she's making a mocktail along with us, which is great.
Love it.
Mark
Beautiful.
gave us ingredients for a cucumber martini last week, mocktail version.
Yeah. So many great drinks, classic cocktails can be modified. You take out that base spirit and you still have beautiful fresh flavors, whether it's a cucumber martini, raspberry martini, you could do a beautiful Arnold Palmer. So there are great options, even if you don't want that spirit in there as well. So let's give this a good shake. I'm going to give it a good smile, Brittany. Okay. I'm going to send you one of these weeks.
I'm making do. That's what you got to do, right?
You're doing great. That's half of it. It's improvisation. All right. So now let's.
Nick, you think you could shake the thing like that? I'm not fit enough to do that.
You wait till later, Bob. I have my shaker here. It's gonna get some action.
Yeah, he's got
to do great.
A raw egg.
Sour. I've got all sorts of goodies in here.
And it's all about the rhythm, Bob. So at the 21 Club where I work, we've got there was one time we had this little jazz band that would come in on Mondays, and they did these beautiful. It was a little trio, and they did great, basic stripped down jazz, but they had this beautiful rhythm going, and I was conscious not to throw them off with the rhythm of the shaking. I didn't want to get in their way, but they were professionals and they did great. So we've strained this, and this is what we're looking at so far. Beautiful color, and that's one thing that's so great about Aperol is you have this gorgeous kind of blush. Yep, and that's because you had the Amaro instead. So that's a little bit darker. It's okay.
How about that? Go ahead, drink it.
All right.
Oh my God.
Now we're gonna add some ice to our glass. Brittany's ahead of me.
Well,
All right.
this could have been disastrous, so wanted to get a head start on that.
All right. So we're adding our ice to our glass. Well, if you have it, we can do a little splash of club soda. If you don't, I know I didn't list that in the recipe, but if you have it, we can do a little splash. We don't have to get too technical here. But the main thing that we're waiting for is what makes it a nice spritz, and that's our bubbles. Go ahead and just top that off, Brittany. If you can estimate about 4 to 5 ounces. But happy Mother's Day, guys. Cheers.
Happy Mother's Day.
Big happy Mother's Day to Jill. Please tell her that.
I'll have yours, Mark, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. All right, guys.
Oh, my word.
So this is what we're looking at here. A beautiful brunch cocktail for your Mother's Day celebration. Our Ups Up. A little different. But anyway, let's
Brittany's drink looks like it needs a straw.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
But it is beautiful. Cheers, Mark. Thank you.
Cheers, Mark.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Mersey Rosenblum's contacted us. Great show. Thank you very much. Denise and Sean Cochran says, I think we need to invent the Bodemeister drink. Great name of a cocktail. Question for Bob Baffert says, tell us. 30 Slews was one of my favorite horses to win the Breeders' Cup, and you've trained so many great horses. Where do you rank 30 Slews?
30 Slews is actually the first thoroughbred I ever purchased at Keeneland sale, and for $30,000, that's where I gave the name 30 Slews. And it was I'll never forget. I signed the ticket, and I had an owner with me, and he was going to buy them, and at the last minute he backed out. So I kept bidding. He stopped at 20, so I bought him at 30, and I've never been so nervous and scared. I remember I was shaking signing the ticket, and usually you sign Bob Baffert agent or something like that, and all the information I put in where my address, everything, and within 10 minutes they were calling me to the office because I hadn't put in for any. I hadn't signed up for to pay for the horse, So my credit, I didn't have any credit there. I didn't establish credit, so that's the only time I had to go to the office for my credit check. But I'll just never forget that horse. He was a great horse, and I really learned a lot from him. It took forever to get him the race. He was a big, beautiful, great horse, and seems like just yesterday that when he won that first Breeders' Cup for me, and I really thought, Nick, when he won the Breeders' Cup, I thought it's not going to get better than this. This is it. I've reached the pinnacle of my career here.
Was he the biggest bargain you've ever bought?
The what now?
Was he the biggest bargain you've ever bought? Have you ever bought a horse better than that? I mean, have you ever paid less?
No,
for
it
more?
was. Yeah, Real Quiet was, I think, 17,000 or
Wow.
16 or 17, and he was. He was a beautiful horse. He was just a little bit. He wasn't real straight, but he changed a lot. They changed a lot, but I used to buy some really good bargains. It's really hard to do it now because everybody's really, they're sharper with these pin hookers. It's hard to steal a horse. You can't buy a horse like that for 17,000, 30,000. Those horses bring so much more now.
It just goes to show how strong the market still is. I mean, I think we had an $8 million daughter of American Pharaoh go through the sale just last year. Bob, you talk about nerves and how nervous you were signing that ticket. Do you still get nervous? And if you do, when? You don't show it.
But you know what? I got nervous. The next time I got that way was I picked up a client, Erin Marie Jones, and I was at the July sale, and I got a call if I would buy him a horse. And I just won the Derby with Silver Charter. And I was there with Bob and Beverly Lewis, and we were buying horses, but I had a list, and I gave it to Bob Lewis, and he said, well, Robert, Wayne's got that horse on his list already, and he had 80 horses on the list. I said, man, so I was going to just skip the sale and wait for the Faisy Tipton, which was a couple of days later. And I got a call from Aaron Jones that actually it was Taylor brothers set me up with him, and so and I bid. I bought was Forestry for $1.5 million, and he topped the sale. And he told me, just sign your name. I don't want anybody to know that I bought this horse. Just sign Bob Baffert, agent. And all of a sudden, when he topped it, all of a sudden I saw 30 media guys coming at me, and I was signing the ticket, and I was I remember I was trembling.
I gotta run.
I mean, I hadn't even met the guy. I talked to him on the phone. I said, I hope he's for real. I knew he was, but it's one of those things. I remember it was really, I've never spent, the most I'd ever spent for a horse was probably $200,000. So, and the night before we got outbid for $1.2 million, and I stopped bidding. I told him, I don't want to, we stopped, and we bought Forestry. So, but I always remember those moments, and it was really neat to be able to I bought the topper for July, and he turned out to be a really good horse.
Just goes to show a good horse can come from anywhere, right, Nick?
It's true. Bob, I don't know if you saw a few weeks ago, Chad Brown was on the show. He had 7 or 8 mango martinis, and I said to him, who would you have a horse in training with if you could have a horse in training anywhere? And he said, no, hands down, no question, Bob Baffert, if it was a dirt horse. Did he not, Britney? He said Bob Baffert is the best trainer of a dirt horse. He then qualified in the world. Is that flattery? I'm not sure. I guess it is.
Yeah, I didn't know he said that, but it's one of those things where I've always respected Chad's work. I mean, he's done an amazing job. I mean, he's still a young trainer, And he just, you know, the amount of races he's won, Breeders' Cup races, money won at a young age is just crazy. And when he shows up at those big races, his horses, they show up, you know. And so that's all you can ask for as a trainer. You know, if you know, a lot of people, you can get the stock, but if you can't perform, you know, it's all about results, and he gets them. And you know, when I came up, you know, Wayne Lucas, he was always the bar to me, you know, because I followed Wayne Lucas through the quarter horse days, and he revolutionized quarter horse business. He changed it, the way people did things. He got into thoroughbred business, revolutionized that, started running horses, get them on planes, going here and there, you know. And so guys like this, and then Charlie Whittingham, I came in at like his last few years, so I really didn't I wasn't there for the heyday, but he was incredible. I was stable next to him, and that he was not only was a great horseman, but a good person, but he never complained about anything. He always was just really, you know, stayed smooth and really, I really, you know, I'd ask him all kinds of questions. I'd talk to him, and he would answer everything, tell him what happened about this horse. I was trying to learn everything. What took him, you know, 50, 60 years to learn, I was trying to learn it in like 10 minutes.
You guys seem pretty close, though. I mean, as we welcome in Bo Derek. Bo, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I could listen to Bob's stories all day.
Same, but we're ready to listen to yours, too. How long have you two known each other?
My first Derby was 95, Bob, but I remember Silver Charm. And then we all went to Dubai for the Gold Cup together.
Yes, it was 96 when I went with Cavanier. And the Churchill Downs, before they redid it, they had this, it's called the President's Room. It's right behind the box seat area. And there was these two rooms, and that's where they would let, you know, like, it's more like where they bring the VIPs or whatever. And Wayne Lucas was always in there because that was his spot. And he's the one that told me to come in there. And so I hung with him because after Cavanier ran, and the following year, I think so, after Silver Charm won, I started hanging out in there because it was just like to escape from the crowds. Because at the Derby, everybody's, you know, they're drinking, having a good time, but they forget that you're working, and you know, so you don't want to be rude, so you sort of have to hide out somewhere sometimes. So like Bo, she can't be hanging out there because they would never leave her alone. So we got in there, and I got to know Bo through just hanging around in the in that little president's room, which used to be a lot of fun. I mean, people would come in there. I met President George Bush, Senior and Junior. They were in there one time, and I remember walking in there, and the elder George Bush, I didn't know. I saw him. He opened the door, and there he was. And I said, "Hello, Mr. Bush." You know, and everybody started laughing. But it was one of those things where I've met a lot of really famous people in that room, and it used to be a lot of fun in there.
It was. Tom Meeker was the one who let us in.
I remember Donald Trump was in there one year, and he was off in the corner.
Oh, look at this.
Was it a dirty martini? What's the drink of choice, Bo?
Yeah, he came with the house.
That's the most stylish entry for any drink during this whole season, Bo, and I'd expect nothing less. Thank you very much. What do you got tonight?
Martini.
Just as is?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Gin or vodka?
Vodka. I just spilled it all over.
And Bo, we know you obviously as a screen legend, but as a great animal lover as well. You were on the horse racing board in California, Breeders' Cup ambassador, and it wouldn't be right that you didn't have a four-legged companion with you this evening. Who's over your right shoulder?
Oh, that's Chico.
Hi, Chico.
Hi, Chico. This is my office. He's always, that's really the dog bed in the office.
What kind of dog is Chico? German Shepherd?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, gorgeous.
And so Bob.
Oh, I was good. My father went to he used to go to the Derby. We're in the president's room one day with my uncle, his brother, and Bo was in there, and they saw Bo. They just went crazy. You know, like, oh, we had to have a picture with him. And my father, he kept a picture of him and his brother with Bo Derek in the middle, and he was so proud of that picture. And he kept it in the living room. And when you walked in there, he told everybody, "Yeah, that's Bo Derek." We were at the Derby together. So he was. It was a great moment for him. You made him feel so. And Bo is always, she's so gracious and makes everybody feel at home. And just that's one thing about her. She's always the same. This is really a sweet, nice person.
Well, thank you. And I always feel I'm just lucky to be there. As a girl growing up loving horses, I just can't believe I'm in the president's box at the Derby. I feel so lucky, or the Breeders' Cup, or whatever it is.
But when did that love begin? Oh, we're throwing back photos. Look at that.
Isn't that cute? Look at Jill. She's like a beautiful doll.
Oh, both of you. That is a stunning photo. When was this, and where is this?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I think the Derby, it might have been before. It might have been
it might have been 98, maybe.
And I don't know why she's all dressed up and I'm in a big coat. It looks like the airline lost my luggage.
Oh, that is such
a
photo.
I think it's the only time she ever wore a hat, because I never hardly saw her in a hat.
She looks cute in a hat. I have to show you my Maker's Mark. I don't know if you can see it. It comes in a beautiful box. I have one in a wooden box too, but this one's my favorite. And I don't know if you can see it. It's Ambassador, and it's etched in the glass.
Oh, lovely.
That's amazing.
And this is 2017, my favorite Breeders' Cup, because it was at Del Mar.
Yeah, it wasn't.
This was something, Del Mar held the Breeders' Cup, and they will again in 2021, which we're all looking forward to. But I read that you were first introduced to the Breeders' Cup, Bo, by Merv Griffin. Is that true? What's that story? I'd known him, being in the picture business. He was my first interview, which would have been 1980, 79 or 80. And we'd stayed friends. And so he called out of the blue and said, did I want to come to the Breeders' Cup? And we had a great day. That was 97. It wasn't at Hollywood Park.
And Bo, back in the day, the connection between Hollywood and the picture industry was that much greater with horse racing. You'd see a lot of people who were in the entertainment business at Hollywood and at Santa Anita in particular. It was quite a social scene.
Yeah, for sure, especially Hollywood Park. It was quite the scene. It was fun.
I think most people associate Hollywood with Del Mar just purely because it's a house that Bing Crosby built, Jimmy Durante being associated, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz going out there. I didn't know it as much at Hollywood Park, but you had told me a story once, and I would love for you to share it, of being with Jimmy Durante when you were about 17, and that was maybe your first introduction into Del Mar and the horses?
It was. For some reason, we went to his house. It was right on the beach there, down from the track, and we'd gone over for drinks, and the horses were out on the beach going into the sea, just like you see in the old photos. And Jimmy Durante was there. He was quite old, but charming, and we had a really good time.
Bob, you think we can take the horses back out to the ocean at Del Mar? I think they might like that.
You know what? I remember my father used to take us to Mission Beach for the summers for a month of August. And I remember watching the news, and in the afternoon, they showed Jimmy Durante. They showed the feature race, and Jimmy Durante was in the winner's circle. And I remember we all wanted to go. So my father loaded us all up in the station wagon, and we drove to Del Mar, but we couldn't get in because it was packed. They wouldn't. So we had to drive back out there. And I remember driving down like a little dirt road to get there. And so I never got to go to Del Mar when I was small. But I remember Jimmy Durante. I mean, that would have been great to be living in those days.
Hey, Bo, what's been your best ever day at the track? If you could take one day, bottle it, and just keep going back, what would it be?
It would have to be Zenyatta at the Breeders' Cup. I think that was, all day I was a new commissioner, and everyone was making fun of me all day when I said I thought Zenyatta would win. And they all just said, oh, yeah, that's because you're a girl and it's a girl horse. She'll never win. And so it was a bit of vindication and just sheer excitement.
And that atmosphere when she won in 2009 then at Santa Anita was just electric. It was like nothing you've ever seen.
It really was. It was fantastic.
Special day, Bob.
It was, and you know, my very first board meeting was right after opening day at Del Mar that year, and I saw her come into the paddock, and she was stomping around. I said, you know, my great wisdom, there's something wrong with her. Something's bothering her. And then they said, I know that's just how she is. So it's good to know.
Is it time, Mark, for our second delicious drink of the afternoon?
Oh,
absolutely. This is an oldie but a goodie. It's
I'm
whiskey
going to try and join in.
All right, awesome. I'm excited. Nick made his bartending debut a couple weeks ago. So yes, so I'm excited for round 2 here. The whiskey sour is such a great classic cocktail. And it also came around at an interesting time in the history of mixed drinks. Basically, when we started transition from communal drinks like punches that were actually very popular in royal courts, even in medieval times, down to single serve cocktails being made by bartenders in saloons. So the whiskey sour was part of that important transition, which basically paved the way for me to have the job that I do today. Originally, the whiskey sour really is just simple 3 ingredients: whiskey, lemon juice, and sugar or simple syrup. But somewhere along the evolution of the drink, bartenders realized that if they started adding some egg white to the mixture, it helped to emulsify the different ingredients and also create that, there you go, he's ready. I'm not going to tell you to drink it straight. We're going to put it in the cocktail. But it also creates that amazing frothy head that we've come to expect on so many cocktails, but whiskey sours as well. So you don't have to do the eggs, and we're going to explain kind of the ups and downs of that later on. But we are going to be shaking this cocktail, so make sure you have some sort of cocktail shaker. We're going to need a rocks glass or a tumbler. Typically, you find this drink served on the rocks, although you can have it straight up as well. Beautiful. Nick is ready. I didn't have to give him any coaching sessions before this one. He did all of this by himself. All right, so we're going to
raring to go.
Yep, he's ready. So Nick, we're going to start off with some fresh lemon juice. So if you have your lemon there, that's going to go into your cocktail shaker.
How much?
And I like doing 3/4 of an ounce, but I would say if you have a lemon there, do half a lemon. Should be a good way to start.
I'm going to Amazon Prime some earbuds to you. Nick.
Yeah, would you? Sorry, is it really annoying you?
No, it just seems everyone now is wearing these just because everyone's working from home. So you're used to seeing the earbuds. So it's just been a long time since I've seen the actual connected earbuds.
You know,
I just like to give that impression of being a little bit more backward here.
Every week I actually bother my older son because he lends me these kind of like video game sort of earphones. So it looks like I'm playing Call of Duty or something, but no, just bartending. But all right, so we've got our lemon juice. We're going to move on to our simple syrup, Nick. So we're going to do the same amount that you did for the lemon juice. So we're going to do about 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. And again, that's equal parts sugar and water. All right, you got your lemon juice going in there?
Yep.
He's
Beautiful.
so concentrated.
So now let's balance that with simple syrup.
Look, in my 2-year-old daughter's beaker. That's all I could find.
You know what? If you accidentally leave it in there, I'm sure she would appreciate it because it's just sugar water. So
okay.
There you go.
All right, so you're going to balance that out, and then we're going to move on to the fun stuff. We're going to do 2 ounces of Maker's Mark bourbon. All right, and I know I brought this up in prior weeks. This is a great sour ratio that you can use for any number of drinks. 2 parts spirit to 3/4 parts simple syrup and lemon juice.
How much is 2 ounces, Mark?
2 ounces. You know, I wish I could tell you in milliliters because I don't. That's one thing I would do it almost all the way up on that measuring tool there. Yeah.
Hey, but do you think your waiter that came with the house will come back with a bourbon drink now?
Maybe. We'll see.
Might
That was
surprise us.
fantastic, by the way. That was absolutely awesome. All right. So, Nick, if you've got those 3 ingredients in there, now we're going to add our egg white. Now, it looks like you have a fair amount of egg white in your glass. We really only need about even half of an egg white is fine. I'm going to go ahead and put a full egg white in mine. And let's do a quick talk on the importance of eggs in drinks, or whether or not you want to use them. So eggs have been used in mixed drinks for really almost centuries at this point. So it's very commonplace for bartenders to put them in drinks. It's great at emulsifying the flavors, again, creating that beautiful frothy head. But that being said, if you have an aversion to putting eggs in your drinks, if you're worried about things like salmonella, the risks are very low, but I understand the concern. You can keep it out of this recipe. You're still going to have a delicious drink. The whiskey sour is still beautiful without it. And alternatively, if you do want that beautiful frothy head on top of the cocktail, but you're vegan or vegetarian, you don't want to do the egg whites, so you're good to go. But let me show you a quick little trick here. So this is a common can of chickpeas, which I actually literally just had sitting at the back of my pantry here. And many of you may have it as well. If you strain the water from that can of chickpeas, you've got what's called aquafaba. And aquafaba, that chickpea water, has this great starchiness that actually acts in exactly the same way, the emulsifying properties, as egg white. So you can actually do beautiful meringues with this stuff. It's really fantastic, a great vegan replacement. So, and this is completely safe. So feel free to do any version of this. You can use the egg white like we're doing, use the aquafaba. In this case, I would use about 1 tablespoon or maybe even 1 ounce in place of the egg white. Okay, so now this
how you doing?
This is
good. I've just lost my top there.
That we're doing. So Nick, this is something a little different that we're doing. Did you put ice in your shaker yet?
No.
Good. All right. Excellent. So when we use eggs or aquafaba, we have to shake twice. We're going to do it once without ice, which is going to help to emulsify the ingredients and start creating that beautiful frothiness. Then we're going to shake it again with ice to chill it down. So I want you to go ahead and shake it, but only shake it for about 10 seconds, because that's also going to release a little bit of pressure inside. So a nice, so this is called a dry shake, guys.
If you're worried, I'm worried I'm going to get this all over the place, because I'm not confident of the lid.
Yeah. Bob, how would you rate Nick's shaker skills?
Let's see what Bob thinks.
Yeah, I was. I'll see how he goes here.
All right, Nick. Now
it looks like a urine. It looks like a urine sample.
I'm glad I made this one.
So now, Nick, let's open that up and add ice, and we're going to shake it again, okay?
How much ice?
I would say fill up the cocktail shaker about 3/4 of the way. And give that a really good shake to mix it again, but also chill it down.
There's a professional. Have you been to the 21 Club in New York where Mark works? Have you ever been there?
I haven't. Are you in there?
Nick,
Yeah, I've been there about 7.5 years now. Of course, there's a beautiful tie-in to the horse racing community. We have all the jockeys out front in the restaurant. We do have a beautiful jockey from American Pharoah. So it really is a historic restaurant, former speakeasy in New York, and of course, a beautiful tie-in to the horse racing community. So I would love to have you both there and make you a mocktail or a cocktail, whatever you like.
Where am I going now, Mark?
Okay, so now we're going to make sure that we have our ice in our rocks glass, which I think you already do. And now let's go ahead and strain the cocktail over the ice.
Hey, Nick, Barton 3215 says says Tom Cruise would be worried about your skills here.
Yeah. Is it better than your Aperol Spritz, though?
No, my Aperol Spritz is delightful. Thank you very much.
Can I go in now, Mark?
Yeah, strain over. Go for it. Let's see if you got any foam there. Let's see.
So far, so good?
It's looking good. I want to see the finished result there.
There's foam in this, but there's no foam in here.
It takes a little practice sometimes. That dry shake is very important in the beginning. I think maybe the hesitancy or feeling like that was going to explode on you might have kept it from really emulsifying.
There's the foam. Look.
I think Mark's just really nice. Who would be the better bartender, Nick or Britney? I mean, it's no question.
All right. So we see nice little foamy top here. I'm trying to get you to see it.
Yes, off the top.
It's hard to do it without spilling it on my keyboard. We're going to garnish this with what's called a flag in bartending. That's a little orange and cherry. That's a beautiful classic whiskey sour. And I hope you have a few this weekend. Nick, you did great. Keep working on it, but you're doing great.
Thank you, Mark. Well done.
Cheers, guys.
That's why,
Thank you so much.
that's why Mark Tubridy from the 21 Club, the world famous 21 Club, is with us every week, because Britney and I can't make cocktails.
Clearly.
Look, the guest list isn't bad this week, let's face it. We've got a screen icon of one of the most recognizable faces in global horse racing with us. Bo Derek and Bob Baffert have known each other a long time. But Bob, you yourself have had in your illustrious career brushes with being something of a movie star, as we've seen with Austin Powers, Dr. Evil.
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah.
Ability he displayed for Fox's Austin Powers themed open.
I don't know. They talked me into this thing, and I was kidding around at the time. The Dr. Evil movies were out, and and I was always going like, why are you running this race? I'd always go like $1 million. And so they said, let's do a little skit. And so we did the skit. I thought, well, they talked me into it, promote the race. So my acting career was very brief, and it was fun doing it. And we were cracking ourselves up doing it. The Dr. Evil thing was a little cheesy, the hit gear and all that, but it was fun doing it. It was like, after I saw it, and then I thought, boy, I hope now he has to win the race after doing all this stuff. So I still have never showed that little Bodie yet. He's never seen that. So, but to this day, every year, somebody comes up to me and says, Bob, give me just one time, give me your Dr. Evil $1 million.
Bob, that is so good. Can we get a 1 million? Yeah. Have you shown Bodie that video yet? Because obviously that was a long time ago.
I don't know if he saw it. I'm sure he might have seen it, but he's probably embarrassed when he saw it. But it was Tony Olivato. He's the one that talked me into doing that, and I can't believe I did it. But luckily, the Real Quiet, he did barely win the race, so it could have backfired on me.
That was the first time I saw it and rewatched the Real Quiet race. That was a great ride. It was Jerry Bailey that was aboard, right? It was Gary Stevens on somebody else.
Yeah. No, Gary was on a European tour. He did a couple of those, and so Jerry Bailey came in to ride the horse, and I think there was only 4 horses in the race, 4 or 5, whatever it was, very short field. He was in the one hole, and Jerry Bailey came out, and he says, "You think this horse will run well from the rail, from the inside?" I said, "He really doesn't like to be there." And he said, and he's talking to Mike Peregrine and I, and he says, "Well, I don't think I'm going to have a choice. I'm just going to have to stay down there, and they're going to keep me in." I said, "Well, what happens if you can't get out?" And he says, "You know what? They'll watch you the whole way for it, but in a $1 million race, that last, when they get to about 1/8 of a mile out, they start thinking about the race, and everybody just forgets where they're at and I'm going to have to count on that." And he was bottled up. He couldn't get through. I remember Mike Peregrine was next to me going, what the hell? And so he couldn't get out. He was just standing on him, and all of a sudden the horse just drifted off the rail a little bit. He just shoots up there and wins by a neck. And Jerry Bailey, he came back and he goes, "I told you." But Jerry just, one of the greatest all time. They're so smart, so intelligent, and he just had everything figured out. And he really studied the game. He's like a Tom Brady. He could figure out. He knew about how every rider rode the race. A lot of guys are that way. Gary Stevens that way. Mike Smith. A lot of these older riders, and they just know everybody's style, so they knew where to be and where not to be, because they knew their competitors so well.
I think this is a great question. Nick?
Bo, have you ever read the Daily Racing Form? And Bob, do you handicap races? Bo, you must be a long-standing reader of the DRF.
I am, but I'm not big into betting. I like my money. I like to keep it in my purse. When I do bet, it's usually who I want to win and who I think should win. Sometimes, usually it's a vote of confidence.
Yeah, Bob, how do you handicap the races, or do you let the jockeys come and tell you how they see the race before you say anything to them?
Well, actually, what I do is I go to my website, bobbaffert.com. I'm not saying that I'm not pushing it.
Wait,
but and so, yeah, go to bobbaffert.com and you hook up, you press the entries in there. And when I have my horses in, I just look at the prime power. And if I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, I can win the race. It's pretty. I use Brisnet, and so I've had that, and it figures out how the horse is running there. So I know Jill will always come in, and like Jimmy will ask me, "How do we look?" "Oh, we're looking good. We're in the top 3, or we'll be on top, or whatever." So it comes in handy. Sometimes I have to, I tell all my clients to get on there. They go to bobbaffert.com. My family, and they'll know what I have running that day.
Bob, before Charlatan ran, just for the first time, I was reporting for TVG, and there was obviously plenty of buzz surrounding Charlatan. And I was speaking to Jack Wolf, part owner of Charlatan, and I said, well, what do you think? What have you heard? And he said, well, Jimmy just told me he probably needs the race. We're not sure what to expect. He might need the race. And then Charlatan airs. And I saw Jack Wolf after it, obviously so pleasantly surprised. But is it a matter of managing expectations as well? Because we've seen what that horse has done, and he is absolutely freaky. But is that a challenging part of it as well?
Well, I mean, Charlatan, we knew from the gate his works were great, but he was a little bit on the heavy side. He was carrying a little extra weight, and so we really thought he would need it. And I was actually I had tickets to see the Harlem Globetrotters, and I was Bodie. We were in the lake. We were at the Lakers Stadium there at Staples, and we're sitting there, and it's just starting to start. They shut the lights down, and it's dark, and they're introducing the whole show the way it starts up. And I'd actually forgotten that the horse was running, and all of a sudden my phone just starts going, just shooting away like wow, wow, wow. But I didn't know what the wow was about until Jimmy said he won by 5, and so then I knew it was Charlatan. I go, and so we didn't really expect him to do that. I mean, I thought he would run well, and but we always leak a little bit right before a heavy favorite, just to cover yourself up, So that's like me. Like, if you ask me 3 days out, I'll tell you how we're going to run. But the day of, I started leaking really bad. Well, I don't know. He might need this. Got the 1 hole, I get the leaking. But so it's one of those things where when he went 8-4, and Shooter Shoot ran second, right? He was in that race.
He did, and we're going to carry that with us forever.
And you know what?
We're going to say he finished second to him.
Hey, Britney, Deborah's got a question here. Well, not a question, but she remembers fondly talking of the 1 hole and talking of great payouts. Arrogate was a great payout at the Spa. Had the Baffert exacta that day, which probably paid pretty well as well. But I don't know. Say again.
I think he was 11-1 in the Travers that day.
He was a huge price in the Travers. Eddie Olczyk, I think it was, when we did the NBC crew last week and they were on the show. He said he was completely convinced in his own mind that he was the best horse that you trained. There was no doubt in his mind of that. It won't necessarily be a popular opinion, Bob, but is it a valid one?
Yeah, I think, when we went to the Travers, I really thought I was so disappointed with the 1 draw. I'll never forget, I was watching the draw at Del Mar in my living room, and Bodie was watching with me. Jill was gone somewhere. And they drew number 2 and number 1 and number 2 right away. And Bodie right away says, "It's rigged," And so now I was just disappointed in it. But going up there, we thought, and even Bejarano, who'd been working him, really thought that he was going to win the race. But once I got up there, like the day of, you start worrying. I was worried about the 1 hole. And Mike Smith, we kept telling Mike Smith, "Mike, this horse can really run." We actually, Bejarano and I and Mike, we were in the office a few days before we shipped out there. and talked about the race. And Bejarano says, oh, he had to ride the other horse. He couldn't take off the other horse. He says, man, Mike, he can really run, Mike. I'm telling you. And so when he won like that, and he says, I was surprised he won like he did. You know, he never showed that kind of speed. And Mike just got him going because he was in the one hole. And I'll never forget Mike Smith. He came back and he had picked up the mount. And he said, first thing he said was, you guys are right. He can really, really run, you know. So it was like one of those things. I felt bad for Rafael Bejarano because he had ridden him and he had worked him for me and got him ready, and he wasn't he couldn't ride him. But that horse, that race, and what he did, beating California Chrome in the Breeders' Cup. I mean, those two horses.
Before the race, did you think he could beat Chrome?
I wasn't sure, because I wasn't sure if he could. Chrome was training great. He looked great, and down the backside, I thought, well, I don't know. He's further back. Maybe he's not. He can't beat him. And turning for home, I saw Victor was just sitting on California Chrome, and like, oh, there's no way we're going to catch him. And that stretch run, it was like I still was not a believer at the 8th pole until that last 100 yards. And to me, those two horses, California Chrome, he was on his belt. They were both. I mean, that was a spectacular horse race, and I'm just fortunate that we came out on top. But it could have gone either way. Those are two great horses. But for Arrogate to do that, to run down a California Chrome, and then to go to Dubai, and what he did there was insane completely. And to me, of any horse, that's the best performance of any racehorse that I've run was in Dubai. What he did was just incredible.
Just missed the break by a mile. Horrible night.
It was an incredible race. You never thought he was going to get there. And our Anna James with TVG, she produced this incredible feature on Arrogate that we're actually going to show this weekend on NBCSN. But Bob, after the race, and I know in the moment of it, but you did say that was the best performance. If he wins this, that's the best performance I've seen since Secretariat. Do you stand by that?
Yes, I was very emotional. I was so upset, Nick, during the first half of the race. I just couldn't get excited the last part of it. But to me, I was in awe, and just watching him do what he did. And then he came back and even take a deep breath. He ran by Gunrunner, who's just a superior horse. And I beat myself up, Nick, because his last few outs, he never, after that, I wish I could take it back, and I should have just turned him out or stopped on him. It just beats me up.
Hey, we talk about these kind of folk hero horses, if you like. You mentioned California Chrome. We've talked about Zenyatta already, and every week the Secretariat gets mentioned as he should do. Bo, when you were growing up riding horses and around horses, how connected did you feel with the thoroughbred industry? When was your sort of first intro into racing?
I think it was my first invitation to the Derby in '95.
Really?
Just as a celebrity. And then I was up in that celebrity section, the Turf Club, and looking down after about an hour, horses are this big, way down there. And I wasn't feeling it or getting the experience that I was looking for. And I was introduced to Leroy Neiman, the great artist. And he said, how are you enjoying it? It's your first Derby. I said, yeah, but I haven't really seen a horse yet. And so that's when he took me down to the paddock. We went in the jocks room. From then on, I was on the rail for every race. And then I was really hooked. They were so magnificent.
And I mean, for you, it's the animal. Like we know you adore animals of all types and had a huge involvement with horses anyway. But it's what the animal can do, right? And that relationship between the animal and the human.
It is. And when you think, the more I got to know about racing, because I had been interested in a lot of other things that we use horses for. It's the most natural. It's the least pressure we put on them. A dressage horse, a show ring horse has a lot of pressure, physically and mentally. Whereas horses, you barely get them to behave to get in the gate and be walked around and then do what they love to do. And when a wizard like Bob comes along and he can make that horse and develop that horse from a young age to on the day, at the hour, come out of the gate and feel he's the hottest thing in the world to win the race. Because I believe that's necessary. I think their heart has to be in it and their mind has to be in it. And they have to want to win. It's magic to me.
Bo, you had said that just now, it was when you got down to the rail and you saw these horses, that's what really captured you. We in this industry struggle to really get the youth back into the sport. What do you think that we could do? How do we reach out to the general public and share with them the love that you found at the Kentucky Derby when you went down next to the rail and saw the horses?
As sports go, it's pretty good at giving the public access. So I think once you get them to the track, especially kids, the pony horse riders, everybody's so kind to the children. And that's impressive. And you can get up close to them. It's difficult if you're not brought up around racing to convince people that it's okay, that the horses are happy. I am horse racing on social media. I think is helping a lot because I think we have to show that these people give everything to this life, and they do it because they love it and they love the horses, and the horses are beautiful, magnificent creatures that take your breath away, and they're loved.
Now more than ever, and people are getting so attached. People quite understandably get so attached to these horses. And speaking of a horse that has had his fair share of headlines, and a lot of people, in fairness, have become attached to. He's now made it into your barn, Bob, and there were pictures of him first time this morning, maximum security. How's he getting on?
Yeah, he looked. He came in great shape. He looks good, and we're just slowly, getting him going. You guys got to get him fit again. So he's been jogging every day, just doing light work and getting him used to him and getting to know him. Figuring them out. So it's just like bringing a horse from the farm and just getting to know him and put him through our routine. But we've only had him for like about maybe a couple of weeks, not that long. So but he's a smart horse, beautiful horse, just a massive. He's built like a tank, and sort of him and Nadal, they have that same big stature about him. And so it's pretty cool. I have him. We've got Mackenzie, Nadal, Gamine, Mucho Goose. They're all right there together, and it's quite a
Game Winner, Bob. I'm still a huge fan of Game Winner. I think he may have been
Game Winner. He's on the other side. He's next to Authentic. He's got Authentic over there, Improbable. We've in Charlton. He's in the other way back and behind there by himself there, but he's got a window spot. So they're all doing fantastic.
We've had some questions about hair and sunglasses for both of you. Pete Rotondo just said, great hair, Bob and Bo. What's the secret?
Okay, Bob.
Purple shampoo. What's the key? I'll never forget when I first started training horses, thoroughbred horses. Glen Hill Farm, they had the owner was Mr. Craig Bernick's grandfather.
11.
I'm losing my mind. Yeah, and so he came up and they owned the VO5 Alberto company here, and he came up to me and I didn't know who he was. He says, "Let me tell you something, boy. You need to use purple shampoo." I said, "Who was that guy?" I said, "That's Mr. Shampoo himself." And he was right, because my hair, it turns yellow if you don't from the sun. So
I'm grabbing a charger. Nobody leave.
I never realized that that purple shampoo actually was. I mean, I obviously it's colored purple, but I didn't realize it actually had proper purple dye in it until the other day. I was putting my kids in the shower and was washing their hair, and then toweled it off, and the towels are all purple. There is the proper purple dye stuff in it, in the shampoo, and there was just I was not popular. It was everywhere, all over everything. White was this purple stuff. So how do you manage that?
Well, you just got to be careful with it because it will, if you leave it there, it'll stain it. But when you you can only use it so many times because sometimes Jill will tell me, I think you need to just back off the purple shampoo. It will get a little purple tint to it.
This is up there, Britney, with conversations I never thought I'd expect to be having on this series, but it's been full of surprises so far.
Always. Now we need to know the story behind the sunglasses, Bob. You are almost as recognizable by your hair as you are the sunglasses. So what's the story behind those?
Well, the reason I have my reading glasses on now so I can read what's going on here, but I have really bad allergies. I'm allergic to hay. I have hay fever. And so my eyes are I'm allergic to hay. And so, I used to have like asthma and a lot of allergies. The older you get, I take medication every day for it. But my eyes are always watering. So the reason I wear the glasses, otherwise it just constantly, it keeps me from rubbing my eyes all day long. And if not, you'd think I was crying, all the times because my eyes are constantly watering. I can be sitting there, I can feel this tear come down my cheek. And so that's why with the COVID thing going on with my hands, somebody said, put Tabasco sauce on your fingertips and you'll rub your eye one time, you'll forget it, you won't do it again, So, I have to be really, really careful about that.
Ouch.
Oh, yeah, that sounds painful.
That's not good. That is not good. Shanine says, Bob, are you in any way involved in quarter horses still? Do you still keep an ownership of any, or do you still follow the scene?
I followed a little bit. I still have a lot of friends that are in it. My ponies are all quarter horses. That was my first love. I grew up with quarter horses. And actually, when I started training quarter horses, I never really paid attention to thoroughbred racing. I'd watch the Derby on television. I think my first Derby I ever watched on television was 1971. And I remember watching that at my uncle's house because our antenna was always being knocked down by the cows in the field down there. So we'd go to his house to watch it. And that's when I started, and then the next day in the newspaper the Tucson had a newspaper, the Daily Star, and it would show 2 pages of the race with pictures where they were, the numbers, first quarter, second half. It was so cool to, it was really, they covered it really well. And so I really missed that because they used to show that in the newspapers, like 3 pages at least of all until the finish line. I thought, man, that's pretty cool.
Bo, we had a question in earlier. What was your favorite racetrack? You mentioned Dubai that you had been to. I know you have favorites in America, but outside of the States, do you have a favorite racetrack you've been to?
I think it would have to be Chantilly outside of Paris. A racetrack right in front of a fairy tale castle. We'll do it every time. And then if you go out in the morning, the horses actually work out in the national forest in these big roomed paths, and it's incredible. It's beautiful.
What race did you go for?
I went to the Prix de Diane for that one.
Yeah, which is the Prix de Diane. So for a lot of you will know, but some may not. The French Oaks, essentially. So for the 3-year-old fillies, but a way bigger day out than the French Derby. So the Prix de Diane, much more of a social occasion, big fashion. I mean, the people on Prix de Diane Day, Bo, don't they? They just, if you want to find the most genuinely chic, stylish crowd anywhere in the world, you'd struggle to beat that. I'd say. Would you agree?
I agree, absolutely. Even more because I've been lucky with being a Breeders' Cup ambassador. I've been to a lot of the racetracks around the world, and it's much more fashionable even than Paris, than the Arctic Trail.
Well, for each of you, what do you think it is about the Breeders' Cup that makes it different than any other race around the world or any other event around the world? Bob, I'll start with you.
Well, I remember when I was training quarter horses, I would watch the first Breeders' Cup, and I was watching it live, and it was just entertaining. And so, you saw the sprint, the different divisions, because all I knew was the Kentucky Derby. And that's the first time I thought, well, maybe I could do that. Maybe the sprint, maybe, and you see all these famous jockeys from everywhere, all these famous trainers. And then these European horses, you love watching the European horses come in there. And so there was just so much of everything. And I remember Tim Conway, he had a little skit that he did. It was just so funny. And so it was just so entertaining. And then watching Wild Again and those horses coming down the lane, it was just so much. It was like watching one great movie after another, just binging on horse racing. And that's what the Breeders' Cup is all about. You're just binging all day, watching all these great horses get together, and that's what makes it so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the Olympics of horse racing. But what about for you? What stands out about the Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, I think so too. And it's not as big a crowd as the Kentucky Derby, but it's more isolated to horse racing people, and from all over the world. I love going to breakfast, whatever the local hangout is, and you'll have the French people and the English people and the Japanese, and I love the international aspect. I mean, it's our World Cup, really.
And you were talking about Del Mar in, what year were we in Del Mar? 2017?
2017.
2017, yeah. And it was the first time it had been at Del Mar, and obviously it's been at Keeneland once, Keeneland again this year. Touch wood.
Your first time at Del Mar?
Yeah, 2017, wasn't it?
Wait, but Nick, that wasn't your first time to Del Mar, was it?
No, because I'd been earlier in the year, I was just sort of thinking about the impact of the Breeders' Cup can have on the local community, and for a relative, not small, but a relatively close racing community there down in Del Mar, having the Breeders' Cup there was a pretty big deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, a real big deal. And well, I like those atmospheres anyway. When you have certain racetracks, Saratoga, Oaklawn, I like when the whole town comes out, all about racing for the festival, and you have that sensation at Del Mar.
Yeah, you have local restaurants where all they have on are the horse races, the Brigantine, which overlooks the track. I mean, I'm reminiscing because I can't wait to get back down there. I love Del Mar. Bob, do you have a favorite track? And I don't want to limit it to the Breeders' Cup, but for you, what is your favorite track to win a race at?
Well, I mean, I love Santa Anita. It's the most beautiful track. And, but, I love, Del Mar is a different scene. It's just, it's fun. It's like a working vacation down there. But then when you go to Saratoga, it's like, to me, it's something like Bo said, the whole town is there. They're engulfed. Everywhere you go, you see racing people, and they're all there to watch those horses run. And so when you go, I'll never forget when we went up there for American Pharoah for the Triple Crown. I mean, for the Travers, it was crazy. I felt a lot of pressure because the whole town was about American Pharoah, and it was so disappointing that he got beat. The town had just gone crazy. But Bob,
what you did after was remarkable. After he lost, the exposure that you gave to the media that day with him is something I think many people won't ever see again. And for them, it meant the world. You were so open to the public that day after he lost.
Yeah, it was. But the day before, I'll never forget that. I've never been so overwhelmed in the morning when we went to gallop them. They said, "Can you gallop them at a later?" We like to take them early in the morning, go out there when it's still cool and they're quiet. So we waited, and I went around in a golf cart and to the front side, and I could not believe the stands were full. And then I thought, wow, this is like, I think the horse thought he was going to run. They sent him with a pony, and he got all, he thought he was going to breeze. And so I can remember saying to myself, wow, look at this. This is crazy. Everybody, the grooms left their barns to go watch the horse gallop from other trainers. It was like, it was such a scene. And that day when he ran, I just felt so much pressure, and I thought, oh, I hope this horse comes through. It's like never before, like, please come through. And he fought so hard. He was completely empty, Nick, at the top of the stretch. I thought he was just going to stop and run last. And I thought, oh, this is turning into a nightmare. And he didn't give up. And then finally, he was just tired and that horse,
Keen Eyes.
the Keen Eyes came and nailed him at the end there. And it's like, I was happy for Del Romans. You know, he was great, and he said, "I'm sorry, Bob." You know, he almost like apologetic. You know, and I know he won, and we were sitting there, and everybody was. We're doing the press conference, and you would have thought somebody had died or something. You know, because everybody was asking us these questions. But you know, it was. You know, American Pharoah. He gave us so many great memories, and the ride that he took, and he was so great for racing. You know, and that's what I'll never forget about it. He just really put horse racing back on the map.
And what about the pharaohs that you've trained? I mean, are you still hopeful that you're going to get a real champion by him?
I have some nice ones. They're a little bit late coming around. I had this one filly, Merneith, and I don't know, she kept getting beat at Santa Anita. I kept waiting for her to, you know, run off the screen. And I took her to Oaklawn, and she ran up there, and she was the only winner at Oaklawn by American Pharoah. And she looked like American Pharoah coming. She finally put it together, and she won by like 8 or 10 lengths. And I think that's what really, you know, I think that's. I've got some other ones, and they're finally coming around.
It's so special because the fan base that you talk about around American Pharoah, that will continue with all of his sons and daughters, and the same thing with Justify when we get to see his sons and daughters on the track. But what do you think it is about these star horses like a Zenyatta or American Pharoah that do so much for the sport? You know, why do we need these stars?
Every sport needs stars, and I think that unfortunately horses don't race as long as they used to. You start to get around behind a horse as a fan, and then all of a sudden they're retired. So I think that, and honestly, I never thought, having been a racing commissioner for 7 years, my committee was medication and track safety, and I thought, racing is so clean now. How can a horse ever accomplish those 3 races in 5 weeks again? It's just not possible. So that was the biggest surprise for me. Maybe not for Bob, but for me it was.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let's live it again. His final race.
This is a great way to go out tonight.
As they head for the far turn, American Pharoah's lead is 1.5 lengths. And now Victor Espinosa starts to pump on him and says, let.
Oh, well, it was a great way to go out.
On the far turn, they're in front by 2. F&X continues to chase, and then comes Frosted and Tonalist, and they're all put to full-out drives, and American Pharoah is getting away, and they're into the stretch, and American Pharoah has a 4-length lead. F&X is second, and then it's Frosted, Tonalist, and Honor Code. American Pharoah comes into his final furlong, and he's got a 6-length lead as they come to the wire. A Triple Crown winner, a Breeders' Cup winner, a horse of a lifetime. American Pharoah has won the Breeders' Cup Classic over F&X and Honor.
It gives you chills. Bob, does it give you chills looking back on it?
Brittany, I'll never forget that day. I was so emotional because I almost started crying in the paddock when I went to saddle him. And I'll never forget that. Put the saddle on him, and I told him, well, this is it. Last time I'll ever saddle you. And when he turned for home, I was like, I just felt so like, man, the party's over. You know, this is it. We were just enjoying him, just getting to have all this fun with him. But and then the next day, we had to go to the farm, and we followed the van to the farm. It was I felt like it was in a funeral. I was following the van to the. I'm never going to see my boy. I'm sending him off to college or something. But that horse that day at the Breeders' Cup, those fans, they all came to see him run, and it's a lot of pressure for a trainer because you know they're expecting him to win, and so you feel that added pressure, and you're just relieved when once he turned for home. I was like, whew, I'm glad that everything worked out, and the fans got what they came for. They saw, it's like watching Muhammad Ali go in a fight. Let's knock him out. Let's win big, and he did it.
Oh, well, I think that's a fantastic note on which to end week six, not week 5, week 6 of Cocktails and Conversation. Brittany, I think we've done quite well so far, but unfortunately the bar is now raised insanely high.
I'm not quite sure how we surpass this. And I know you say week 6, I can't believe we've been in quarantine for this long, but if that means every Thursday I can join you and some pretty incredible guests like Bo Derek and Bob Baffert, then hey, I'm happy with this.
Bo, thank you so much. Bob, thank you so much. Stay safe, stay well, and enjoy the rest of 2020 until we can all meet in the same room again, I hope. For real.
Thank you both so much.
And most importantly of all, thank you for watching and your continued support. breederscup.com/donate. Happy Mother's Day at the weekend. But from Bo and from Bob and from Britney and from me and from all of us here at Breeders' Cup, good night. We'll see you next week.